Christian, we're back on video this week. It's a new week, and we're kind of in this weird time period after August 5th, but before August 14th. I love what you've been calling it, the messy middle, and that's so true. I think we should rapid fire some messy middle questions your way. What do you think?
I love it. Let's go for it. I'm ready for them.
I'd love it. Number one, we get it a lot. Who signed these amendments to our agency agreements? Tell us about it.
Well, any client that currently has an agency agreement with you, whether it is a buyer or seller, would need to sign it, unless, of course, they are under contract. You could have them sign it, but you don't have to have them sign it. We've been telling agents here at BHG that they don't need to sign anyone's under contract. But really, it's anybody that's under a current agency agreement with you would need to sign these by August 13th.
Great clarity. Yeah. A lot of the agents are out meeting with new buyers or new sellers. Do they need to sign one of these amendments too?
Absolutely. The recommendation we've given our agents is to take it right along with your exclusive right to sell or listing agreement and buyer agency agreement and have the client sign it at the same time. I was talking to an agent yesterday, Patrick, that was telling me that she was getting ready to go out and meet with a client. And this is a new client, not under a current agreement. And she said, how do I do this? And I said, it's probably best to start with the amendment and explain the language and explain, this happened to be a seller. And so I said, explain what's changing in paragraph 11 of the exclusive right to sell. Those are the agreements that we sign with our sellers. Deal with that on the upfront and talk about that on the upfront versus you don't want to get into the exclusive and explain what's already the existing paragraph 11 and then say, but just kidding, now we have this amendment. So I think it's better, just recommendation, to start with that and explain that on the upfront, but you're basically going to have them sign it at the exact same time.
I like that. Yeah, a good way to explain that to our potential clients as they turn into clients with us.
Yeah.
And, it also reminds me, we got a lot of dates going around. We've talked about August 5th a lot, August 14th. We don't talk as much about the 13th. Why is that such an important date? And why should we get those amendments signed by then?
Well, August 13th is really the end of this, what I call, well, the messy middle might continue for a while, but really the intense messy middle really ends kind of at midnight on the 13th. That is a point in time. There is a hard line there. There's going to be a hard stop. You've heard me talk about it in previous videos we've done, Patrick. But that is when the compensation fields get removed from the MLS. We wake up on August 14th and we now no longer have compensation fields on the MLS. We basically have hit go on all of the practice changes that are outlined in the settlement. So having it signed on or before the 13th is best. Now, we've had some agents that have been confused and thought, oh my gosh, I've got to run out, and get it signed on August 5th. Not necessary. Anytime between August 5th and 13th is fine, but make sure they have it signed by August 13th. And we don't recommend waiting until the last day. We know how everybody operates, but don't wait until the last day, especially if you have several of these agreements.
Yeah, I agree. Agents are starting to see compensation maybe being removed by listing agents in the MLS before it comes out as a whole blanket thing in the next few days. What does a buyer's agent do if they're writing an offer on one of those properties to make sure they clarify compensation?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of listings that have come online in the last several weeks that have had zero in the compensation fields, which is fine. But if you are writing an offer right now, we don't have language in the contract yet, and we won't until the 14th, until we have that new residential purchase offer. We don't have language in there right now to write in compensation. And there's two different, I'm going to go down two different tracks here, Patrick. One is if the buyer is going to be asking the seller to help compensate and give a concession to then compensate their buyer's agent, you would actually put that on the residential real estate contract in additional terms and conditions. I would consult with your own broker and find out if they might have a form that they want you to use. They might have specific language they want you to put in the additional terms and conditions. I know that we do for our agents, but that's really where you would address it right now. You would put it in the additional terms and conditions of the existing residential real estate contract, which I know, Patrick, is completely counterintuitive of what you and I have both been preaching as we've taught code of ethics over the last several years about not putting compensation in a contract. So we're having to eat those words. because it's going in the contract. But right now you put it in the contract, additional terms and conditions. If it's going to be broker to broker compensation. So if the listing agent, if you've had a conversation with them and they said, yeah, we've already carved out, I'm going to share my total compensation with you. That wouldn't go in the contract. You'd really want that on what's called a broker to broker compensation agreement, which is an agreement between the two brokers that they're going to share compensation. That's where the compensation is being paid from. Those are kind of your two options right now to deal with this in the messy middle until we've got that real estate contract and the new forms get released on the 14th. That's where you would put it. And that's another reason to explain to the sellers, Patrick, there's a lot of people that are going to look at these amendments and say, well, why can't I just do this today? And right now, if they do it, it doesn't align with the contract and with the counteroffer addendum and the subsequent agreement. So there's just a lot more paperwork that has to be done. And with more paperwork creates more confusion and more chance of error. So that's an objection we're hearing quite a bit.
Yeah, the messy middle, no doubt, it's here. We're making it a little bit clearer for you, those of you watching. I hope you feel that way. Christian, anything else to clarify or that's important that's come up this week?
Lots of questions this week. You and I are going to do several of these to parcel through them. But one thing, kind of just a pro tip that I've been telling our agents, just as we prepare and, our world shifts on August 14th, if you're currently under contract or maybe you're out showing buyers right now and compensation is visible right now in MLS, and your buyer might wait until after the 13th to write an offer, or you're under contract and it doesn't close until after the 13th, you might just proactively go and make sure that you've got a printout of the current MLS sheet for your file, just to give yourself some backup as we move forward and as those fields disappear. But just a pro tip, not mandatory, not necessary, but just thinking ahead and thinking about, as an agent, how can you best protect yourself, protect your client, and the compensation that is currently in MLS.
Hot tip. It's a hot tip coming your way. Christian, a lot of appreciation to you. And you and I, as well as our whole team, have gotten a lot of positive feedback on our video series that we started last week. Our commitment to you is that we're going to keep sending important content your way to help clarify the things that are happening in our industry right now. So stay tuned to all of that. We've got some other great clips coming your way. But Christian, thanks for this one. We'll see you on the next one.